Episode 161. I believe achieving success in the outdoor biz is dependent upon embracing the outdoor lifestyle and learning from outdoor leaders that came before you. If you agree, then listen up for tips, advice, and hacks about growing or starting your career in the outdoor biz. My name is Rick Sayes. Welcome to the Outdoor Biz Podcast. Shanti Hodges drops plenty of insight into starting and operating a nonprofit on this episode. But first, if you're thinking about starting your own podcast for your brand or passion project, I've created a free cheat sheet outlining 6 fundamental steps for building and starting your podcast. It has everything you need to know about planning, building, and launching. Head over to ricksayes.com and download this free resource today. Have you thought of starting a nonprofit? Shanti Hodges talks about that and more on this episode. Enjoy. Welcome to the show, Shanti.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, good to catch up with you today. How's it going today so far?
Oh, it's a beautiful day. I'm here in southern Utah, and it's sunny and nice after a big storm yesterday, and those are always really fun in the desert.
Yeah, it's good skies, right? Beautiful skies, I'll bet. So let's start out with your first exposure to the outdoors. How'd you get excited about the outdoors?
I think really just from the very beginning, my parents were always, I grew up sort of in rural Canada as a little kid. And so we were outside a lot. And then as I got older, moved to Eugene, Oregon, and that's a very outdoorsy town. So, I was around in the beginning of mountain biking, and I had a mountain bike club that I started in my high school when I was 15. And,
Wow.
Just really always was part of, I always loved being outside. It was always something I felt like I could do, and I didn't feel pressure like I felt with other sports of I tried soccer, tried other things, but I just was never a team player in that way.
Not a ball sports person. Yep. Some of us aren't. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
Where in rural Canada were you?
I grew up when I was a little kid, we started on Hornby Island out on Vancouver Island.
Nice.
And then moved to the interior of BC to Grand Forks. And then we moved to Eugene, Oregon. But then my dad moved back up to Nelson, BC area. So, mainly BC kid.
So you still have connections up there?
Yeah, lots of friends. And I love going up to visit. And we have family, so a little bit of family up there. So
it's beautiful up there. Yeah, I love it up there.
Yeah.
Did you have a traditional outdoor job, your first outdoor job? What was that like?
Well, interestingly, in high school, I always kind of was connected to lots of outdoors things. I think in college, I briefly did some, trail firefighting because that was the hip thing to do in college, in the summer. And then after that, I was always really involved in lots of mountain bike stuff and just lots of outside stuff. My first official job as a grown-up was I went to journalism school, and I ended up at Transworld Snowboarding. That was, first I was actually in New York, and I was at Men's Journal and Newsweek, but then I transferred out to, that was sort of more intern stuff, and then moved on to Transworld Snowboarding. So I was right away in the outdoors world through that.
Very cool. And so you were there in the early days, right, of snowboarding?
Yeah, the 90s.
Wow,
yeah.
What was that like?
It was crazy. We just gotten bought by we just got bought by Times Mirror, and so I got hired because of that purchase, and they had room for hiring new editors.
Oh, cool!
So I got hired for that, so that was right away. And then and so I was there, and it was really early days, and there obviously weren't a lot of women in it all, so that was really interesting. There's one other copy editor, and one other woman was hired right when I got hired.
Must have been pretty crazy, right? All the transition.
Oh, yeah. And just snowboarding was still so in its infancy.
Right,
So you'd go to the trade shows like Outdoor Retailer and SIA and ASR and ISPO and all these trade shows, and like snowboarding would be like this rebel bad boy kind of
I
sport,
remember at SIA they'd be way down there in the hall, and how just it's like walking into a gang setting.
The ghetto. They call it the snowboard ghetto or something.
Right.
But people would be like smoking pot in their school buses in the trade show and blowing it out the top, so the whole show was like bombed out, and there'd be strippers in the back doing pole dancing, and it was just, it was crazy. It was really a wild, very different time. And I think snowboarding, it's grown up a lot, obviously, but I think it really, people tried to push it even further than I think they were like it was very dramatic and overstated, I think, to be, it was funny. It was an interesting time.
Well, and they came on like the bad boys. I remember skiing up at Mammoth, and the snowboarders would roll into the line, and, the skiers would all give them dirty looks, and it was an interesting time. Yeah.
Yeah,
For
sure.
And then you went on to Fuel TV. That must have been exciting as well.
Yeah, that was many years later. I mean, I had some other jobs in between. I helped launch Snowboarding Online, which was like the first online snowboard magazine, and that was in '96. And so that was really early on. And so I'd like be dialing up and at events, and everyone would look at me like, "What are you doing?" Like dialing. This is weird. And so that was part of that really early time. And had a really great friend and mentor, Lee Crane, who was, we just had a great time traveling around the world and covering snowboarding. And then went on to Blue Torch, and then eventually, and did a lot of freelance stuff, and then went on to Fuel TV. But in between, I actually freelanced for a lot of years for a bunch of mainstream magazines. And my thing was actually being sort of the adventure go-to girl. So magazines would come to me when they want like, oh, we want a story, like Self Magazine wants a surfer girl's workout story. So I would do these pieces on this, like these extreme sports that I was in, and these athletes that I was around. Like I had a cover story for FHM with like the hot girls of the X Games.
Wow, cool. Yeah.
And all the X Games athletes got body painted, and they were, nude on the covers of FHM. And so, it was an interesting time because I did a lot of.
Must have been a lot of fun. Exposure to a lot of great people, and
and traveling to crazy places, and I really got to see the world, and it was a good time. So ended up at Fuel TV, and that was really fun, and I had great people I worked with there, and really enjoyed that. And then after that, I kind of left it all. I was like, I'm done with this world.
Wow, got your fill, huh?
And I was like, I'm not going to be in the outdoors world anymore. I don't like. There's just no room for me. I feel done with it.
Interesting. And so.
And then. Then I got back in somehow.
It all drags us back in. We can never get away.
Yeah.
So tell us about Hike It Baby. Where'd that idea come from?
Well, after that, I was sort of, I became a graphic designer and website builder. And I just sort of, I ended up having a kid, and I was really out. I actually built websites for yoga teachers and life coaches. Mm-hmm. So very different beat.
Yeah.
And then when I had a kid, I found myself going online and looking for places to hook up with other families that were getting outside. And I just didn't find anything. Mm-hmm. I found one group in Colorado, and I'd find the occasional meetup here and there, but really didn't seem like it spoke to me. So I was like, well, I'm just going to build a little website and put a newsletter together and get people to come meet me in places. And I just hand out cards when I meet people on the street, and they had a baby, and it just really quickly blew up. I mean, I didn't really anticipate. I mean, I'm sure, social media is a big part of it, for sure.
Yeah. So it grew right from the start? I mean,
Oh, wow. Immediately. Like within a few days, I had like my phone blowing up, and people like, I started leading hikes every like 3 to 4 times a week on the same time every day. So I'd lead them at 10 a.m. on Tuesday, and then I had Tuesday and Wednesday, and then I had Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And before I knew it, like people were texting me and calling me, and and so then when it got like crazy like that, I would have people send me hikes they were going to do, and I'd put it into a calendar. So I was doing this all by hand.
Wow.
And I'm like, this is crazy. So it's pretty soon, like I'm spending hours at night putting like 10 hikes in, 20 hikes in, like all these hikes.
Yeah.
And then it starts spreading around the country. And so that's when we had to get serious and, really think about what's the future, what's happening here. And I could see that other people around the country wanted to do this too. And I realized in order to have a group where you're connecting people and continuing it on beyond just like a mommy hike group that ends when your kids grow out of it, you have to create structure and create an organization where people can repeat the group no matter where they are and have the similar experience. And
this was before the days of before Facebook group kind of thing, right? And this was early.
Oh, no. Actually, this was early Facebook groups. So I had been part of Facebook. Like I've been working on it since really early times.
Yeah,
so this was 2013.
Yeah. So at least you had
I built a Facebook group.
Network,
so I knew a lot about Facebook and social media, and so I started an Instagram and a Facebook page right away, and that was in 2013. So it was pretty early Instagram. I think 2011 Instagram started maybe.
Something
so
like
it was pretty early, but I knew that these things would grow. But I also really knew a lot about newsletters.
Yeah.
So I knew that a newsletter would be really important. And I knew that a website was really key, and that you couldn't count on Facebook early on because I just had been through Friendster and all these different things. So I knew I couldn't count on all those different things.
Had to be one part of the spoke of the wheel of everything you needed. Yeah.
So, so I just knew that I would have to be a part. I would have to build all these different pieces if it was going to be something that could be continued and be successful.
Mm-hmm. So did you build the organization? Obviously, it was just you. How quickly did it grow from 1 people to 2 people to 3 people to?
Well, pretty much right away. I had always lots of really neat women around me
Mm-hmm.
that, and men actually too, that were like involved in just helping me in different ways.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like early on, I had this guy, Aaron, and we would host a lot of hikes together. And so that really helped. And then I had my friend Billy Joe, and she would enter hikes in for me late at night. And then, within a year, I met Jessica, and she really became the backbone of it.
Mm-hmm.
And she's now the executive director of Hike It Baby, but she really was the person that was like, this really can be awesome if we have a lot of structure. And I knew,
Right.
but I'm not a good structure person. I'm a good vision person, but she's a good structure person. So
Perfect.
we were a really good team, and she was
Mm-hmm.
really awesome. And then there was other people helping out. There was Ginny and Molly May, and just a group of people that just jumped in and just really took it to the next level with me. I hosted a little like, hey, come to Portland and hang out with me for a couple days and let's talk about what Hike It Baby could be. And that's by the time it had already started spreading.
Cool.
And 15 women just like bought plane tickets and showed up on my doorstep.
Wow.
And it was so cool. And they were from all over the country, like DC
awesome.
and Michigan and Texas, and like these strangers all showed up, and we just like had a great time. And it was so cool. And I was like, oh, this really means a lot to these people. And, interestingly, a lot of those people are still really involved, which is so cool.
Huge. Yeah. You built a great community. I mean, it's awesome.
Yeah, it's great too, because I really from the start was very firm on, this is not a mom community. It's an all family community.
Mm-hmm.
This is a way for people to meet each other. And it's really like, for us, I mean, one of the real key things to me in the beginning was I was like, I just want to show lots of different kinds of people on trail. I mean, skinny people, fat people, short people, tall people, black people, white people. You got a wheelchair? Great. Come join us. And so like really early on, I made that really intentional. Like, this is really important to me that I just show that like, we're not climbing big mountains. Mm-hmm. We're not doing things that are extreme. We don't need gear. We just you need people to find people and get outside. So it's really, I tried from the very start to make it a social club to expand your community, because in hiking and getting outdoors, there's a safety net for, being with people, even if you don't politically align, you don't culturally align.
The activity calls a lot of us together. Yeah, exactly. And and you're right, it's not always extreme. I think sometimes the outdoor industry, we're getting better at it, but I think we still push a little bit too much towards the extreme.
Well, towards the extreme. And if it's family, the family is, mom, dad, and their super rad little kids that are like rock climbing 512s at birth, so it's just, and I don't mean to be like sarcastic in saying that, but it's like, I know the industry doesn't want to keep pushing that, but we continue to do it. And we do it in very simple ways. Like, tell me an outdoor store that really truly is friendly for a 4-year-old. If you have a 4-year-old and a 1-year-old and you go into their store,
there's a lot of stuff.
Do they have chalkboards? Do they have areas for kids to play? Like, or are you like me, where I walk into an outdoor store and I'm like, oh my God, what's my kid gonna ruin in here? I better look out and make sure he's not gonna like knock
what am I
over
gonna buy? Right. What am I gonna buy?
Right. And so I think it's just even that, just like really the industry, is so focused on so many different topics that a very simple thing is overlooked, which is, hey, did you know if you really make your space really truly family friendly, you're gonna have loyal people forever.
Yeah, and they're doing a better job at it. Yeah. What do you think was your biggest challenge in the early days? Just keeping track of it all? Had to be a lot of balls in the air there, right?
And so much going on, and just should we be a nonprofit or not? I mean, should we be a club where we make people pay for every hike, or do we just be a nonprofit? And like, it just understanding. And I just, at the end of the day, I just wanted a group of people to go hiking with. And probably by starting a big thing like this, I made it way too complicated, because like, you have to think about liability and
well, it sounds like you had some great people that back you up and help you, though. That's awesome. The community just reached out, jumped in. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That's good.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's all about community, but I think that, there was some pretty hard decisions to make, and there was definitely, like anything that starts up, there's always feelings hurt and people that just aren't on the same path as you. And that's the hard part about these things, is your heart is really tied to it and in it. And then, making sure that everyone's needs are met with an organization is very complicated.
Yeah. Right. What has been your most memorable experience since you started it?
Oh man, there's so many. I don't even know where to start. I mean, I get I mean, I think every single day that I open Facebook or my email and someone, a mom or a dad, writes me, or a cousin or a nanny or a grandma, and says, my family is so happy because of this.
Oh, cool. That's great.
That's like, that's just what's awesome. And then like to show up at something and have a bunch of people show up because I'm going to be there, and it's so cool. It's like, oh my God, you guys all came here to see me. This is so cool. Like,
Yeah,
I mean,
that's
that's
great.
obviously a great ego boost, but it's also like,
Yeah.
it's like,
Oh, that warms your
just
heart. It's
keeping
got to
my
warm
head
your
on my,
heart. I
yeah,
mean,
it's just
yeah.
nice to know that people really care that much
Yeah.
about this community, and they want to come and tell me like how important this community is to them. And what's really, I just try and keep telling people over and over, is that like, it's not me. It's just, I had an idea, and it's the follow through of the idea.
Yeah, you made the connections, and it's all, everybody connected themselves. Yeah. What do you think was one of the best decisions you've made in that process?
I think probably to go to a nonprofit. I mean, I was really wary of that because I was just really scared of, I'm just never have done anything in the nonprofit world other than like give money.
Yeah.
It's really scary.
It's different.
I mean,
it's
a really
different.
big decision. And it's like, it would mean that I didn't own the vision that I started, and it could really change and not be mine anymore, and just accepting that and letting it go. And then, to step down as executive director this last year has been really hard, but it's like, it's in Jessica's hands, and she's amazing, and I'm on the board still. And that's been really great, but it's given me so many ways to so many different people, and given me the opportunity to learn from so many people. And
it sounds like you've got a great
awesome
team that helps.
Yeah.
So who inspires you? Shifting gears a little bit, maybe now or over the course of your career?
Well, in the outdoor industry, I've I've leaned on Rue Mapp as a mentor from time to time, and I talked to Jose Gonzalez a lot. He started Latino Outdoors, Rue Outdoor Afro, for anyone who's not in the industry and doesn't know about them. They've been really great, and Myrna Valerio is a ultra runner who's a friend of mine who I do women's retreats with, and she really like talks me through a lot of things, and I really appreciate her. Just watching the industry and sitting back, I'm just so inspired. I'm inspired by the passion and some of the anger, for sure, in the industry right now. But I'm also, I'm inspired. I'm nervous. I'm sweaty. I'm wondering what comes next, and I'm also, so I think that, but I think also just really for me, the inspiration really comes at a very local level when I travel and I meet people on the trail and they say they're part of Hike It Baby, and I learn their story. I get so inspired by everyone has their own story and how they got to the outdoors. And so I feel like it's like my life is just filled with constant inspiration.
That's very cool. Yeah, that's obvious. Do you do any joint events with nonprofits?
Yeah, I mean, we're always up for it. I mean, really, it's town to town. And like right now, we have National Trails Day that we do with American Hiking Society, and we do Kids to Park Day in May with National Park Trust. And we always are looking for events locally to do. And, it really depends on each branch in each city.
Right.
And, I really, the big thing is like, we try to just impress upon people things. We work with Leave No Trace on things, but we try to actually impress upon our organization and everyone involved, like to take up things on their own, like do trail cleanups. You don't have to, have to partner with anyone to do it. Just go
get
do
involved
it
locally and start something on your own.
You want to connect with a local, mommy group that's supporting immigrant families coming, and get them outside, go partner with them and do it. Like, I just really encourage partnership at a local level and like a lot of network weaving. We have a really excellent partnership with Adventure Mamas, which is another amazing nonprofit. And so we always encourage people to do joint events there. But I love seeing, I think nonprofits are all in the same boat where there's just not enough money and too little time and not enough people. And so I just encourage tons of network weaving wherever you can.
That's good. That's good advice. And it's all about the people, right? There's always people that want to get involved. You just have to reach out and ask them, and it's amazing what you get in return. Yeah, that's terrific. Yeah. So in addition to hiking, what other outdoor activities do you participate in?
These days it's a lot of hiking, but we also paddle a bit. My husband's really into rafting, and so like we just did a fun little kayak up the Colorado actually instead of down it. If you had told me when I went, I was like, I knew we were going up it, but I really didn't know we were going up it. We paddled up for 8 miles.
Where'd you do that?
I'm not supposed to tell because it's a
Oh,
secret,
okay.
but
All
it's
right.
really cool. It's on the Colorado. It's in Arizona, and there's a hot springs. I'll tell you that much.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
And we went and paddled with my son and our gear, and it's flat water on that day, but you're still paddling against current. But
Oh,
we
yeah,
went
there's
up,
current.
and then we
Yep.
paddled 4 up, and then 4 more, and then paddled 8 down.
Nice.
And we made a 4-day trip of it, and it was so awesome. So we paddle. We're going up to Glacier Bay here in a few months, and we're gonna go paddle up there.
So beautiful up there. Yeah, good
And
for you.
then we're going on a surf trip to Costa Rica.
Good for
We're
you.
kind of making this our big like last hurrah before our son starts school.
Oh, gotcha.
So we're getting it all in. So we paddle. I don't surf that much. I mean, I haven't surfed in years, so I'm excited to get back to surfing and doing that, and teaching my son and my husband how to surf because they don't surf.
Oh, there you go. Cool. That'll be fun.
Yeah, and then I'm gonna, we mountain bike. Although again, I think I've been really focused on hiking because it was something we could really share with Mason.
Yeah.
And we boulder obviously because we're in the middle of Utah, lots of rocks. But a lot of that's mainly our outside time. But really, we are out every day. We're outside.
That's great. Well, that's good for your son too. He'll embrace that. I'm sure he has already.
Yeah.
Do you have any suggestions or advice for folks wanting to get in the outdoor biz, or maybe if they're in, grow their career or into a nonprofit?
I think really the key is look for. It's like look for people that you admire, and don't always just reach out and be like, oh, I get this all the time. Oh, hey, I'm thinking of starting my thing. Can I get on the phone and talk to you about how you started Hike It Baby? And I'm like, oh my God, like I'm so busy. It's like I don't want to be a jerk and say no, but what I would say is actually join the organization and just go in and learn about it, because I don't have any problem with people like doing our training program and learning all about us and how we run our whole program and doing it. And that's like, do the work and learn about it. Don't just, ask someone to feed you the information.
Yeah. Shadow somebody. Yeah. That's good advice.
Yeah. I think it's really typical that people just kind of reach out to you and just say like, oh, I want to learn all about this, but like I get that every day.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
And I'm like, I would love to. I mean, I should probably write a book about it, but I haven't because I don't have any time.
Yeah.
Which means I don't have time to do that. So really just like we have a training program that I'm like, if you're starting a nonprofit or you're starting an organization, like join our organization and shadow it for 6 months.
Sure.
And and let us know you're doing it. We don't have any problem with that. Like we're not trying to do anything secretive. I would love people to start their organizations in ways we do, or join Adventure Mamas, join the different groups and volunteer within their organizations to learn about how they run. Same goes for companies. If there's a company or a brand you really, really are like, I want to work for that brand, like volunteer at something they're putting on and get to know people in the company.
When you're going to learn so much more, but if it's just if it's just spoon fed to you, it's just going to go in one ear and you'll forget half of it possibly. But if you actually go do it next to somebody, it'll stick. Yeah.
Well, and then also learn about the companies you want to work for, because a lot of times you think you want to work for a company because they look really shiny on the outside, but then the inside is a messy mess. So, and then there could be a little small company that you're like, oh, they're too small for me. I want to work for someone bigger. Well, you might learn a lot more from those smaller companies.
Yeah, have more opportunity.
So like I left Transworld Snowboarding, which everyone was like, you're never going to be, you'll never be in publishing. You'll be, and actually I even had, what happened when I was leaving New York to go to Transworld, I had an editor say to me, if you leave New York City, you'll never be a writer. You'll never be an editor. You'll never be in this business. And I was like, okay, watch me.
Yeah, watch this.
And so I think that's the thing, is like, go and take those smaller opportunities at things that are really interesting and like look for those opportunities, be aware of those connections and those, and ask everyone. If you want to get in the industry, like ask everyone, find your brother's old girlfriend's friend who works at the North Face if you want to work there. Like
reach out,
call them up and ask them questions, there's lots of ways to get in the industry. The other thing too is like, don't be afraid to start something new and and have a loud voice in the industry. I mean, look at Patagonia. Patagonia is totally not from the industry. I mean, he's young, he's like 26, but he just like had a vision, rocked it, showed up, and just is owning it. And it's awesome. And he's making bringing a lot of awareness and a lot of fun and a lot of good energy into the space by really just rocking it. So like,
Yeah.
I mean, we're all aware of what, sorry, hit her, but when, you know, and Patagonia, we're very aware of the presence of Patagonia right now.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really great to see how she's like blowing up the whole outdoor industry and getting other people to go out on a limb and share things and talk about things. So,
Mm-hmm.
so don't be afraid to take on a persona. Don't be afraid to be bold, because the outdoor industry is an excellent space to be really bold.
Exactly. Go big or go home. Yeah, really.
Yeah. But follow through.
Yeah.
Don't just be out there, you know, screaming and not following through with action and actionable items and support. And, you know, if you're going to create something big and create a big fuss, then just like then how can you also be part of solutions?
Yeah, and own it. You got to own it. Yeah.
Because we're in an industry where everyone's really short on time. It's not a huge
Mm-hmm.
money industry. And so, you know, really, like, you know, if you have an idea for a new product and you want to make it happen and you want to take it to a company, like, get in there and show them why they need that product and why they need to turn that, you know, or if you want to start it on your own, go for it. But, you know, just really follow through with it, because that's the key in this industry, is sticking with it and following through and making those relationships. And, you know, it's not that you have to kiss ass, but like, just really go
committed.
and find
you gotta
people.
You gotta be committed. Yeah, exactly.
Find people and show them that you're really in it to keep doing this and you believe in what you're doing.
Yeah, stick with it.
It's a really fun industry. And you know, 20 years ago, I probably wouldn't have said that. And even though it's really uncomfortable right now with how people are feeling, there's a lot, you know, so much conversation about the outdoors industry being as white as it is. I mean, 25 years ago, I don't know if you were there, but I was at OR, and that was like,
I've only missed 2 ORs. I've been to all of them.
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah. So, I mean, I think I first went in the 90s, and I don't remember there being anyone other than, you know, very many women there at all.
Yeah, it's going like everything. It goes through changes, and its changes always, you know, a little bit bumpy, but we always come through it on the other side. So I think we'll get through this as well. Yeah. Do you have any daily routines you use to keep your sanity? You meditate, get a lot of exercise, it sounds like.
Yeah, I mean, just a lot of outside time. And actually, we moved out of Portland because I just felt like I wasn't keeping my sanity there, because we were in a city, and I just felt very contained and claustrophobic. And we moved out to Laverkin, Utah, a town of 4,000 people.
Wow.
Kind of the end of the world. And we literally moved to the last house on the block at the end of the city, the end of the town.
So you're right on the edge. That's cool.
And we just look out at the mountains, and like, so literally my sanity now is like every day I just wake up and I drink a cup of coffee and I look out my window, and my husband jokes, he's like, we never want to camp anymore because it's like laying in our living room. It's like we're camping every day. And so it's really cool. So I really didn't realize the importance of, for me personally, not everybody needs this, but I didn't realize the importance of proximity to nature.
Yeah, it's huge. Yeah.
If you haven't read The Nature Fix by Florence Williams, read it, because that will help explain your brain and why you need nature.
Good. We'll link to that. Do you have any other favorite books or books you give us?
Oh yeah. Gosh, you know, I love Angela Hanscom, Barefoot and Balance, and she just talks about, you know, why, you know, what's happening with children and why children are suffering from so much ADD, ADHD, and behavioral issues and stuff. So that's a really big one. There's No Such Thing as Bad Weather is a really good one. These are all sort of for family kind of stuff.
Cool.
If you want to look for those kind of books.
Yeah, we'll link to those in the show notes. That's awesome.
Yeah. Other ones to look for, I think right now, Running Home from Katie Arnold, she's an ultra runner. And Myrna Valerio's book, I'm reading that right now. It's absolutely amazing. And I think there's a lot of really good outdoors writers right now to be watching and doing a lot of memoirs that are great.
Yeah, and there's a lot of new ones coming on the scene too. Yeah, which is great. Yeah, cool. What's your favorite piece of outdoor gear under $100?
Under $100?
Yeah.
Under $100, favorite piece of outdoor gear. I was thinking about this, and I was trying to think of like what, you know, until this last year, probably my Anya Baby Pure, which is a hiking baby carrier, but it's actually was made by a couple that came from the outdoors world. So they built it, you know, really after backpack technology.
Oh, okay.
So it wasn't like a baby carrier. And it's funny because it's a small little brand, but it's so rad what they did, because you could wear it like you'd wear a backpack, and it fit a lot differently than baby carriers. And was really great for, like, we could go on 5-10 mile hikes with Mason up until like 6 years old with him on our back.
Oh, wow. That's great. Yeah. Well, we'll
And
link
it
to
was
that in the
1
show
pound.
notes
So that
too.
was awesome.
Yeah, that's huge.
Yeah. So that's pretty huge. There is a new Deuter pack out, which is for women, which is really exciting, but that's way over $200. But I have tried it and stuff, but now Mason's not in that kind of carrier anymore. But
right.
I'm so excited about that, because that's going to change how, like, the distances women can do. Like, if women want to go out and do long hikes, this carrier is so much lighter, and I think that was a sort of hindrance for especially little women. Having a frame carrier with all that stuff in it and then a baby on top of it was just too much to carry.
Adds up quick, yeah.
So that's a big move. That's a bold move on their part. And I love seeing, like, innovative products like that coming out. So
yeah, we'll link to that in the show notes too. I'll find that. Yeah.
But I think hiking poles.
Always. Yeah, you gotta have hiking poles. Yeah,
key.
Yep. Good
key.
advice. Yep.
Don't forget your hiking poles.
Don't leave home without them. Yep. Your whole body will appreciate it.
Yeah, and your knees, especially
exactly,
when you hit 50.
Your knees. Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, my knees are hammered. Yep. As we wrap up, is there anything else you want to ask of our audience or say to our listeners?
I think follow me on Instagram, because I love doing Instagram.
We'll link to all your socials.
Yeah, okay. So
cool.
I'm Hiking My Way is me, and then Hike It Baby is our community one.
Cool.
And I think, don't be afraid to get involved in organizations like Hike It Baby and Adventure Mamas, and there's so many great groups popping up right now, all over the industry to connect yourself into. And don't be invited. I think the big thing I want to say is, like, the most important thing to me is to impress upon people that hiking is a really easy access point to get your neighbors, your friends, people into the outdoors.
Yeah.
And it's a real gift you can share with someone. And you may think hiking's really easy, but it isn't for everyone.
And you can do it anywhere.
Wide variety. You can do it anywhere, and for a wide variety of reasons. So, consider, inviting if you're in a church, your church group, or your neighborhood, and doing a neighborhood hike or hike trail cleanup on a trail that's just in your neighborhood. Consider getting people on trail that wouldn't normally go there, because we'll all benefit from that experience that they have and their exposure to the outdoors.
Yep, no, that's well said. That's good. That's good advice. Yeah, you can do it anywhere, anytime, with anybody, and just make it happen.
For sure.
So, if people want to reach out, best place to find you is on Instagram.
Yeah, Instagram's good, or Shanti at hikeitbaby.com is always easy.
Cool.
And everyone, if I don't get back to you, someone will. We have a great team, and I forward things on sometimes if it's not a good question for me. And so I have a really amazing group of men and women around me that just are making so much stuff happen.
Cool.
So
well, we'll link to that in the show notes too, so people can reach out.
Yeah.
Well, thanks, Shanti. It's been great catching up with you.
Yeah.
I'll see you at OR in a couple months. Well, next month, right?
Yeah, it's happening.
Right on. All right. I'll look forward to seeing you there.
Thank you.
Thanks. All right. See ya. If you want more of the Outdoor Biz podcast, you can subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Be sure to go to the outdoorbizpodcast.com, where you find all the episodes, show notes, and much, much more. Until next time, be sure to make time to get outside.